The Thunder just took Game 4 in Minnesota to go up 3-1 in the conference finals. Shai nearly had a 40-point triple-double, J-Dub went off for 34, and yet my biggest takeaway was the play of Chet Holmgren, specifically how his offense sort of determines OKC's ceiling, both right now and moving forward. Chet's actual production can be up and down at times, but what's always consistent is his ability to take on a ton of different roles. He'll spend a decent amount of his minutes operating from the dunker or deep in the corner, and in these spots, he isn't just a threat to finish plays as a shooter or a finisher, he's a threat to extend them by crashing the glass, which then leaves the defense vulnerable. This especially stands out in those double big lineups. When a shot goes up, Gobert's busy trying to keep Ihart off the glass, so Chet's able to fly in from the corner and create a second chance. Another thing you'll notice is that because defenses are so busy bringing help to Shai, they often forget to keep an eye on Chet as he sneaks behind two defenders before drawing a loose ball foul. Here's one where he's playing from the dunker and there's no big near him, so when a shot goes up, he's able to easily get to it and tip it back out to the perimeter. Every now and then you'll even see him start in the slot and crash from the wing, and all that's to say he played a huge role in OKC securing 19 offensive rebounds in Game 4. The slot is actually where he does most of his damage. Defenses want to bring help to the middle of the floor against Shai, and if he's hitting his threes, that becomes the ultimate counter. Even just the threat of his shot creates space though. This time it's a post up, and Jaden isn't able to commit to the ball because that would leave an easy kick out. Instead he comes with late help, but Shai's already scoring. In these spots, Chet isn't just capable of catching the ball and shooting, he can also put the ball on the floor and attack as a driver. This part of his game is still a work in progress, and in Game 4 we saw the good, the bad, and everything in between. On one hand, he does lack explosiveness as an athlete, so if he doesn't have space to create an immediate advantage, he can sometimes struggle getting separation. With that lack of explosion, he also isn't physically strong. So when he gets a defender leaning and drops the shoulder, all he does is throw himself off balance for an awkward finish attempt. Still though, he's incredibly lengthy and can handle the ball really well for his size, so if he catches the ball with space to drive and build up a head of steam, he's lethal. And for that reason, he demands attention. On this play, you're going to see OKC set up their signature flat ball screen action, and Jaden's expecting Gobert to help in the middle, but when Chet clears out, Rudy follows, so Shai's left with a wide open lane to the rim. Flat ball screens with Chet were their go-to offense in the second half. Gobert's going to play the ball in a drop before recovering to take away the pop, and the play turns into an isolation for Chet as he once again struggles to create separation against the four-time Defensive Player of the Year. Later in the quarter, they set it up again with Naz Reid though, and the Wolves go back to the exact same coverage, so now that's the one-on-one matchup. Chet goes to the exact same move, and this time the result is a dunk. Next time down, they ran it again, but now you're going to see Reid stay glued to Chet instead of picking up the ball, which leaves Shai with room to pull up for a jumper. Then when Shai checked out, they started running it with J-Dub, and even if the initial action doesn't create a quick advantage, Chet's just going to pop to the slot, getting OKC back to their 5-out spacing. Once again, the Wolves are looking to help in the middle, and he makes them pay from 3. So to avoid the pop, next time down, Reid is going to straight up front the action. But that means he's not in position to help on a drive, so when J-Dub attacks that open space, he earns himself a trip to the line. It was the exact same thing a play later. Chet sets up for a flat ball screen with Reid fronting, J-Dub attacks the right elbow, only this time he gets cut off and steps back into a jumper. Minnesota simply could not defend this action as the Thunder ran it time and time again, and every now and then you'd see some of those limitations in Chet's game show up. Like here, he knows the right play is an extra pass to Caruso, but he isn't able to make it, probably travels, then ends up turning it over on a drive. The strengths in his game showed up just as much, if not more though. This time the Wolves decide to switch, not only leaving J-Dub with a bigger defender to attack, but leaving nobody to keep Chet from following on the glass. Like I said, they just ran this play over and over again. They tried putting 2 on the ball in a trap, only for Chet to pop into open space for what ended up being called a long midi, and a couple minutes later, they again tried trapping the ball before having Jaden get back to Chet with a late switch, and this almost forced a turnover, only for him to regather possession and find Caruso underneath the basket for a layup. OKC's offense in the second half completely revolved around his game. It was primarily his ability to space the floor and move without the ball that helped create room for J-Dub and Shea to attack the middle. It was primarily his ability to crash the offensive glass that created second chance opportunities. Then when you add in some hot shooting and decent slashing, he ends up scoring 21 points on over 70% true shooting. This right here is a big deal and the overall theme of the video. Throughout the regular season, the Thunder went 14-1 in games where he scored at least 16 points. In the playoffs, they've gone 5-2, but in the 4 games he scored at least 20, they're undefeated. Basically, what I'm getting at is the fact that when he performs anywhere near an all-star level on offense, this team is pretty much unbeatable. And the reason a big offensive performance is especially impactful from Chet is because he's also giving you defensive player of the year type production on the other end. In this series, he's primarily been matched up against Jaden McDaniels so that he can help behind the play, and that allows the Thunder to get more aggressive with their coverages on Ant, knowing that he's always going to be there to play cleanup at the rim. No matter how the Wolves set up their offense, he's in position to help, and even when he's not blocking a shot, you can feel his impact on every possession. When Terrence Shannon Jr. checked in, that became the matchup, and again, he's just going to leave him in the corner to crowd Randall on a post-up, not letting the ball get anywhere near the basket, while still recovering in time to get back out on the 3 and get a hand up. Because of his impact as a rim protector, OKC's defensive game plan is built around keeping him on the baseline. On this one, you're going to see them pre-switch so that he doesn't have to step out to a screen, and that means that if the Wolves want to score inside, it's gonna have to be over him. That's not a battle anyone's gonna win consistently. When Ant sets up on an empty side, they're gonna send Caruso over early while Chet slides down to play the dunker. From there, he deters one shot, then gets a hand on a second to force a jump ball against Randall. So while the Thunder have been looking for ways to keep Chet near the paint, the Wolves have been looking for ways to pull him away from it. One way they've done that is by moving his man to the wing, then putting Ant in the corner so that he can't pre-switch. Sure, that limits his presence at the rim, but he's still this big, lengthy helper at the nail, and he's not gonna overcommit. Something else they've tried is actually putting the ball in Jaden's hands to attack Chet one-on-one. But if you ask me, that isn't exactly the best formula to efficient team offense. Although he isn't quite as agile as he was before the hip injury, he still moves really well for his size, and for that reason, they're comfortable with him guarding just about anyone on cross matches. Because he's always on the baseline, he's going to be closing to whoever's in the corner, and that can be any number of shooters. This time it's Dante, and he presses up on the ball to not give up a jumper, while having the mobility to contain a drive and force a kick out. Then on a second chance, he's already under the basket waiting for a barreling Randall, where he gets called for a foul, but after review, it was deemed that he went completely vertical and it got overturned. With all of that said, Minnesota's go-to for pulling Chet away from the baseline has been to simply use Jaden as a ball screener. This time he picks up Ant in a high drop, while they send some aggressive help from the weak side. Speaking of which, high ball screen action has also been their go-to whenever he's playing the 5 and matched up with Gobert. Against Conley, he's always going to sit back in a deep drop, as they're almost daring him to beat them as a scorer, but against a guy like Dante, he's going to get up in a higher drop to take away the jumper, while also not giving him space to turn the corner on a drive. That's what he's also doing against Ant, getting above the three-point line in preparation for a pull-up jumper, then dropping back to not let him get to the rim, and he did a pretty good job of bottling up the pick and roll. That didn't stop the Thunder from throwing an absolute curveball late in the fourth though. They moved Caruso onto Gobert, which then put them in a position to aggressively switch all screens involving Ant, completely taking away the pull-up 3 as an option. Naturally, the Wolves tried to counter by again having Jaden screen, but Chet's all the way up on a jumper, forcing him to either get rid of the ball or take a contested shot. With about 45 seconds to go, their final counter was to go back to Jaden for an isolation, and that's when Chet had the best defensive play of the game, sticking with a spin and sending his layup off the glass. From that point, all it took was some late game fouling and free throw shooting to seal the win, as they survived an onslaught from Minnesota shooters to take a 3-1 lead. Like I said at the beginning of this video, J-Dub and Shai both came to play. They combined for 74 points and 15 assists as they created almost all of OKC's offense in a very high scoring game. And when you add that to Chet's performance, it might have just been the signature game from this big three. Bringing my focus back to Chet though, with everything he does defensively, literally anytime he at least produces something on offense, he instantly becomes one of the most impactful players in basketball. And it's these types of versatile offensive performances where he takes on a bunch of different roles and scores 20 points efficiently, where you really get a glimpse into not only his potential as a player, but OKC's potential as the NBA's next dynasty. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out the Hoop Venue podcast and my social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Chet. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.